You know, when you think of Brazil, you probably think of samba, soccer, but what about its car market? Today, we're diving into a world of huge numbers, economic paradoxes, and a really fascinating battle for the future of the road. Let's get into it.
And we're kicking things off with a number that should, by all rights, bring any car market to a screeching halt. 15%. Yep, that's the projected interest rate. So you have to ask, right? How in the world does a country sell millions of cars when borrowing money is this expensive? That's the billion-dollar question we're tackling today.
To really get a handle on the car situation, we first need to pop the hood on Brazil's massive economic engine. Because, to understand the cars, you gotta understand the economy they're driving in. I mean, we're talking about a projected GDP of over 2.2 trillion US dollars for 2025. This isn't just some big market, it's a global heavyweight. And right here, you can see this fascinating tension in the Brazilian economy. On one hand, you've got a pretty manageable inflation rate and low unemployment. I mean, those are signs of a healthy economy. But on the other hand, you've that jaw-dropping 15% interest rate. That means for a really tough environment if you're looking to make a big purchase, like a new car. But here's the thing. Even with those challenges, you've got this massive population of 213 million people. And with a GDP per capita of over $10,000, the potential for people to spend money is just huge if they can find a way around those crazy high borrowing costs. Okay, so we've seen the big economic picture. Now, let's get behind the wheel and take a look at the cars that are actually on Brazil's roads. We're talking about a national fleet of over 72 million light vehicles. That is a ton of cars that need to be maintained, fueled, and this is the important part, eventually replaced. And to put that number into perspective, it works out to about one vehicle for every 3 people. That's a pretty clear sign of just how essential having your own transportation is in Brazil. Now get this, the average age of a vehicle on the road is 12 years. 12, that's getting up there. And you know what that means, right? It points directly to this constant underlying demand for new cars as all these older models start to wear out. The market basically has its own built-in engine for growth. And yeah, the numbers totally back that up. The country produces about 2.6 million light vehicles a year. And guess what? It sells about 2.55 million. It's almost a perfect circle. What's built in Brazil is, for the most part, bought in Brazil. So with over 2.5 million new cars hitting the streets every year, who is winning the race to sell them? In a market this huge and competitive, who's actually coming out on top? Let's dive into the fierce battle for the showroom floor. Who's winning the hearts and, more importantly, the wallets of Brazilian car buyers? So you've got some absolute giants dominating the market. Stellantis, with its Fiat and Jeep brands, has a massive slice of the pie. Volkswagen and GM's Chevrolet are right up there too, of course. But check this out. Look who's shaking things up. The Chinese automaker BYD has broken into the top 5. Now that is a huge signal that this market is changing, and fast. So what are people actually buying? Well, the undisputed champion is the Fiat Strada pickup. Almost 143,000 of them sold. After that, you've got a bunch of really popular hatchbacks and compact SUVs from Volkswagen, Fiat, and Hyundai. This tells us a lot, right? Brazilians clearly value practical, versatile vehicles that can do a bit of everything. But hang on, are these big international brands just shipping cars into Brazil? Or are they actually building them right there? That's a really key question when you want to understand the depth of this market. And the answer is a huge, resounding yes. Brazil isn't just a place to sell cars. It's a massive hub for building them. It really is a nation of automakers. The level of investment is just incredible. I mean, look at this list. It's basically a who's who of the global car industry. You've got VW, GM, Toyota, even premium brands like BMW. And now the Chinese giants like BYD and GWM are jumping in too. This creates a huge number of jobs and a really strong local supply chain. Okay, so they're building them there and people are buying them. But what about the cost of keeping these cars on the road every day? Let's talk about the price at the pump, because this might be where the entire future of this market is really going to be decided. So let's take a look at what it costs to fill up your tank. Gasoline is about $1.15 per liter, but check out the price of ethanol. It's a much cheaper option, and that's thanks to Brazil's long and really successful history with biofuels. Now, to really see where things are headed, we just need to do a tiny bit of math, so stick with me here. The key is to compare apples to apples.
The energy you get from 1 liter of gasoline is roughly the same as what you get from 2 kilowatt hours of electricity. That's the magic number. So, what does that actually mean for your wallet? Well, to get the same driving range, you'll pay $1.15 for gasoline. But for electricity, from a household plug, just 32 cents. That is a massive difference. And that brings us to the final, fascinating question. On one hand, you have these super high interest rates making new cars, especially more expensive EVs, a really tough sell. But on the other, you have the incredible appeal of cheap electricity. So which of these powerful forces will win out and shape the future of driving in Brazil? It is a high-stakes race for sure, and the future of the Brazilian auto market is hanging right there in the balance.
Fleet Mobility Today.